Grab a cup of your favorite brew because today we are going on a journey to the center of the modern workforce, where HR meets technology and whereas things are as dicey and unpredictable as rolling a pair of dice. Now, if you've been keeping up with the latest news or been scrolling through X or LinkedIn, you've definitely heard terms like the Great Resignation, the Silver Tsunami, unprecedented low unemployment rates, and all of these seem like a crazy dystopian novel or book. However, they're not. They're like the current state of HR right now, and it just keeps changing. It seems like HR is on this wild roller coaster that's out of control. And every year we keep shifting. So let's take a look at the last couple of years. We have people starting to job hop and leave careers or change positions every year or two. They're actually willing to start ghosting employers for high profile jobs, which is just unimaginable. Then we have a large population of the workforce hitting retirement age and actually starting to retire. And then we had this little thing called COVID 19 that just changed the workforce forever. And we had people going fully remote, then a hybrid, now back to the office. Who knows where we'll be at in a couple years? Last, I want to talk about inflation. And that has really put a challenge on people recruiting and retaining employees. I consult for a lot of state and local governments that have offices downtown in metropolitan areas. It costs a lot for gas, housing, in order to get to those jobs, which are a lot of in person jobs. It makes it very difficult for these organizations to recruit and retain people for entry level jobs. If you're going to come in for $20 an hour and you have to expend $10 to get there and get home every day, is that job going to be worth it for you? Or can you go get a job at Home Depot or somewhere closer for that same amount of money, which is just, I don't know. I started back at Home Depot as my first job, and I think I got paid like $8 an hour to bring in carts from the parking lot. And I remember back a couple years later, I finally got my first supervisor gig and it was at $15 an hour. And I thought like I was made of money. Now I look at like the fast food restaurants are paying 15, 16, $17 an hour for basic entry jobs. And they're begging people to show up at that much. Like it is just crazy to think where we're at right now with HR and the workforce. There's a lot of things that are at play that create this wild roller coaster for HR and the workforce. However, one of the large things that we're seeing is a generational shift of the workforce. We're going from some of the older generations to some of the younger generations in a rapid transition. Let's use the analogy of a family barbecue, and I'll use myself as the example. So I go to a family barbecue and I have my parents, my aunts and uncles. They're going to be baby boomers. They make up 25% of the workforce. Then I have some of my older siblings or have cousins that are going to be Gen X. They make up 33% of the workforce. Myself, I'm a millennial, one of the senior millennials, as you call it. I make up 35% of the workforce. And then we go down to the Gen Z, which are the younger generations, maybe my nephews or something like that. And they're going to make up 5% of the workforce. This melting pot in the current workforce with the different generations, their ideals, their values, their commitment to work, what they want out of their employer is creating the current situation. Let's break it down a little bit further into what each generation represents. First up, let's start with baby boomers. Born from 1946 to 1964, they are your value, your really troopers of your workforce. They are going to be with a company through thick and thin. They're going to be with you most likely for 10, 20, 30 years, and they really value job security over pay or some fringe benefits. Next, we have the Gen X, born from 1965 to 1980. They're the pragmatic individual problem solvers. And it's a very critical generation because they bridge the gap between the baby boomers and the millennials. They start to introduce the work life balance and having an identity at work. So, as we get to millennials, this is where things start to get interesting and a little bit dicey. If we look at generational size, our baby boomers were baby boomers. They were a huge generation and they were the largest generation till millennials came about. Gen X was one of the smallest generations due to a big transition from farmland, countryside living into the suburbs and into the city. Also, with Gen X, they had both parents working, which then created a demand or necessity, but people ended up having less kids. Well, with millennials born from 1981 to 1996, they were the first generation born with technology at their fingertips. They are not just want work-life balance, they want to work to live and they want a fun work environment. They want continuous feedback, they want continuous development, and they want to be engaged and retained within an organization. And as soon as you kind of break that and you're not engaging with them or giving them continuous feedback, they will end up going and looking somewhere else. And then there's Gen Z. They only make up 5% of the workforce because they were born on or after 1997. And early indications start to show that they like digital connectivity, flexibility, and individual expression being valued by their workplace. So, what does this all mean for HR? Well, it means we need to start updating HR to be more flexible and rapidly innovate and change with this fluid workforce. We need to focus on strategies like employee well being, enhancing the work life balance of employees through productivity. We need to focus on changing policies and procedures to allow for more return to work retirees. Because for some industries, that is the bread and butter of their workforce. And maybe they're tuning out that because they don't want part-time employees and they aren't realizing that they're missing out on this huge employment opportunity. Then we see continuous learning and development. You always have to engage and continually train and enrich your employees in order to retain them these days. Those are some of the critical factors that we're seeing to help adapt to this changing workforce dynamics. If you're enjoying this or you're finding value in my content, do me a favor, go down below, smash that like button, leave me a comment in the chat, because those are my two main ways to know that you're getting value from this and you're enjoying my content. Now, let's get back to it. So we've covered, what I think is the main thing that's happening in the workforce, these changing workforce dynamics and these generational shifts. And I've caught up a couple ideas or solutions we have out there. However, it's time to really shift gears and focus on the elephant in the room and what I feel like is the most simplistic way or the best way to solve these challenges, because they're going to keep happening and new challenges are going to arise. And our organizations have to figure out how to thrive, not just exist. That continual loop or that treadmill that you're going to be on of trying to recruit, retain the tribal knowledge that's going out the door every day. It's just going to be a constant wear and tear on your organization. And you're going to be more focused on trying to keep the lights on instead of innovating and going forward. So, this is where I like to come in with HR technology as really the one solution that's going to come in and be able to handle a majority of these and be that standardized, flexible tool. It's not going to handle everything, but this is the one tool that I feel like is going to hit on a bunch of critical items that are happening because of these workforce dynamics we're seeing. And there's really four main areas where I see HR technology taking organizations to the next level and really making them adaptable, nimble, and innovative during this time of change. Let's jump into number one. Okay, so this goes by a couple different names. We have workflow, business processes, paperless, standardized processes, automation, whatever you want to call it. But we are going to be talking about the number one item is having a new modern HR system that has workflow and business processes built into its core functionality. Now, what this allows your organization to do is create standard processes with all of the tribal knowledge for your organization built into the system. So if there is a special approval needed on a hire outside of a compensation range, or if somebody wants to take off time over their PTO, whatever it is, this is all built into the system. And then you're able to weather this generational shift that's happening and where employees are going to be staying with you on average for a year or two instead of 10 and 20 years. You're going to be able to adapt to that changing workforce year over year. And when you lose that manager, supervisor, HR analyst, whatever it is, that tribal knowledge doesn't leave with them. You're able to replace them and you have a system in place. Also, you're able to do a lot more with a lot less. If you're operating without an HR manager, you're operating without an HR supervisor, a recruitment manager, whatever it is, those approvals and those things are built into a system. And then you also have a special routing to go to maybe a secondary approval in case a spot is vacant. This allows you to thrive and not get bogged down. Also, one of the biggest enhancements of a new modern HR system and standardized processes is to your IT systems. Is if you have standardized hire, transfer, termination processes, they can easily build integrations and events and triggers off into the IT systems to create email accounts for new hires, terminate email accounts and security access for people when they leave. One of the biggest improvements of a new modern HR system is to your IT operations, which is crazy. Number two on the list, we're talking about mobile first HR systems. We want our new employees being able to do their onboarding on their new iPhone, on their Android, whatever they have. We want employees being able to access the HR system from wherever they're working. If they're working from home today or they're working from the office, if they're a deputy, like a sheriff's deputy out on patrol, they're able to check in on the HR system from wherever they have cell reception. That is what employees are demanding from organizations, is that their apps that they're using for work have that same user friendliness as TikTok, Instagram, you name it. They're wanting that mobile capable device. And some of the leading HR technologies out there have really great intuitive designs, and they work for multi generations. You can have baby boomers using these apps along with Gen Zs, and it's a value add to the organization and really enhances the employee experience. All right, number three on the list, personalized intelligent automation. Imagine a new hire comes on into your organization and boom, before they even start, they get a personalized welcome letter based on their department, their supervisor, their job title, whatever. Letter, and they feel like the organization values them and they really made the right choice. Next up, they get a personalized or curated list of onboarding classes that they should take and people they should meet. This is the next generation of HR systems. And there's a lot that are offering this right now. But if you don't have this, this is what you need to be offering your employees to create that winning employee experience, to really stand out. Also, if you have a smart system that's able to do this, it requires less work from your managers, your supervisors, and your HR staff, because the system, once you build those rules in there, your system is creating that personalized experience that really welcomes that employee with a hug instead of just a cold shoulder. And that happens a lot, is people are like, they're all excited about this new job, and then they don't hear about it from anybody for like 2 weeks. And they show up on day one, they don't know if they actually got hired or what's going on. And that is the worst experience. And I think like the first, kind of a dent in the armor of an employee experience that usually leads into a bunch of other things and then them shopping for jobs in 6 months. So personalized intelligent automation in your HR system can carry you a long way, especially with minimal resources. Number four on the list is AI and data-driven HR. And I know you've probably heard so much about AI and it's this big hype train, but I spent a lot of my life in my career as a business intelligence or data analyst, and I would take data out of multiple systems, HR systems, blend it together, and then build dashboards and KPIs with it. And those days are hopefully getting to be behind us, where you need extra systems and extra people to do that. The AI and the data-driven HR systems that are out there now are being able to surface those items. They have standard, time to fill and recruitment dashboards for you, but they also have really unique tools that are going and combing through your data, looking for anomalies in pay and diversity and equity and serving those up for you and really illuminating some oddities in your workforce that you wouldn't have been looking for. This is really powerful in helping people move forward. Now, it's not just about the data. AI is being able to support things like chatbots and be able to try provide 24/7 HR assistance to employees. And one of the coolest things that are coming out are virtual reality learning and development. Imagine going to an onboarding class or some type of training and it's done through immersive virtual reality. That is really next level and some of the really cool things that we're seeing coming around the corner in HR technology. And really, how I think AI and data driven HR is going to change the workforce. All four of these allow us to work with less resources while also doing more. And I think that's a big theme that's going to be coming out of HR technology and HR thought leaders here in the future is that how do we do more with less? And I really feel that's where AI fills that gap and it helps us do more. And then, so you might only have maybe one or two people, but blend them with AI and they can serve the same thing as 10 people. These advancements are more than just tools and shiny things to get you distracted on. They are really critical items to your organization that will help you be nimble and rapidly adapt to this changing workforce that we have. It is just crazy with what we're seeing every year. Who knows what we're going to see in 1, 2, 3 years down the road, what differences we're going to see, and HR is going to have to adapt to. I mean, I have a great story. I was with an organization for over a decade at Maricopa County. And during that time, I had 8 promotions. And that's like a promotion every year. So my journey of myself with Maricopa County is a testament to some of these things that I've talked about because I was able to grow. I wasn't job hopping. I had an organization that really embraced me, that felt me as a up and comer, as someone that was really going somewhere. They really understood me and they engaged and retained me over a decade. And that's what organizations are going to have to master is how to take your high performers, how do you identify them, and how do you engage, enrich, and retain those employees so to stay with you. All right, so here's the game plan on how we're going to address this issue. I want you to go down and I want you to subscribe to HR Wyatt. Why? Because I'm going to be producing weekly videos on topics just like today, HR technology, and major HR news and trends. So this will keep you up to date and help you build an organization that is nimble and innovative and be able to address these changing workforce dynamics. Number two, once you've subscribed to the channel, I want you to check out this video because I've curated it just for you. And I think it is a game changer and going to really help you improve your organization. So I will see you guys in the next video. See you later.